Oh, hello, and welcome to Aldente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East End Retrieval.
I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Umbra. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh great, it's another 10 November thing. No, we're not doing another Warframe creepypasta. This isn't Umbra.
Which is a reference that only our group of friends gets.
Only our group of friends or somebody who's in like the Warframe community would get. I feel.
Well, I meant specifically the Umbra thing, but it's fine.
Umbra, yeah, it's because
we don't need to talk about
it. Okay. Regardless, we're doing it's. The story is called Umbra. It's by Pratt 99. So it's a very good chance that it's a Curtisville story. Yay.
It says Curtisville in the story.
Yeah, somebody in the story. Yeah, spoilers. Somebody in the story is from Curtisville.
So there's a high chance that this is Curtisville.
Well, yeah. But you can check it out on creepypasta.wiki along with all of the other stories by Pratt 99. I guess we'll give our initial recommendations. I'm going to partially recommend this one.
I am not going to recommend this one.
I am going to mostly recommend this one.
Interesting. Well, let's dive into this. Let's dive into this and find out why we gave those recommendations and see if it changes or stays the same. Starting,
it'll be one of those two things, guaranteed.
Yeah, definitely, maybe. Starting with the rundown. So, Haley Euland is writing and lamenting about the wintry events that have transpired, involving snowmen and strangely placed bloody keys in envelopes in people's mailboxes, and how she didn't used to believe in the paranormal until she came face to face with it, sort of. It all started like this. She was washing the dishes in her North Dakota family home in Brereton. Her parents downstairs sorting through things that her great aunt left behind. The wind outside was whipping, and she was working while watching Animal Planet on a TV. But then the power began to flicker, and her dog got very rowdy toward the front door. When she went to check it out, there was nothing outside or anyone outside. And that was when the power went out, all save the TV, which simply switched to a silent static. However, in that static formed a warning, and then images of a loathsome girl that Haley knew who had moved into the area recently as well due to her bad behavior. On top of that, the girl, Chelsea, was a dirty otaku from Curtisville, California. In the images, it showed Chelsea's place, a little cabin in the back of her own aunt's property where she was staying. It also showed a horde of snowmen in the field nearby who swiftly changed into tall, dark Victorian figures and encroached upon a scared Chelsea who was on the porch of her little cabin. Haley looked on in horror as Chelsea was ripped apart just before the TV finally turned off itself. Then the power returned, and her parents called up to see what the matter was. To which Haley said that she was fine, and that she was watching a scary movie, and she'd accidentally broken a plate in the process, despite wanting to actually tell the truth of what she had seen. Finn. That's basically the gist of the story. Or the gist.
Clarify that it's not just that she wanted to say one thing but said another. She wanted to say one thing and was forced beyond her control to say another.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's as if something was like stopping her from saying what she really wanted to say. And in fact telling her, or like kind of dictating what she was saying.
Also, I should probably further clarify, not all otakus are dirty.
No, well, I'm. That's. We'll get to that because that's
Dirty
actually.
otaku.
We'll get to that because that's literally in the story what
Oh, I know.
how Haley refers to Chelsea. So
Yes.
yeah, and I'll get to that in my actual thoughts because I've got thoughts on that.
All right.
But first, before we get into actual thoughts, we should do number one tolerance the grammar inquisitions. At this point, I mean we've been doing it for years now, so we might as well keep going.
Option to stop.
What?
We could just not do it. Is that what you're saying?
Could we just not do grammar inquisition?
Start like not doing it, then all of a sudden we get like hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah. Yeah. Dear listeners, send us emails. Should we continue the grammar inquisition or keep it? Mikey's suddenly getting really sad.
Yeah. A little bit.
But
No, it stays.
I'm gonna start with this my grammar inquisition. Great Aunt Ramona was known to be an eccentric, a cigar-smoking, outspoken woman who amassed a vast treasure trove of souvenirs in her years as a photojournalist working for National Geographic. So it's a little bit run on, but that wasn't my big issue. The issue here was I think the A before cigar smoking should be removed, so it'd be Great Aunt Ramona was known to be an eccentric, cigar smoking, outspoken woman. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Conversely, you could also actually put a period after like known to be an eccentric, and then a cigar smoking, a cigar smoking, outspoken woman who amassed like that. That would also work, I think, as well. So either
You probably have to change it to she was a cigar smoking at that point. Because it's its own thing now.
No, I mean, like, I honestly like have I don't know. I think it would be fine with like just doing like a cigar smoking, outspoken woman who amassed a vast treasure. Blah blah blah. You could do like she was a cigar smoker, but like I don't think it's necessary. But yeah, also just like maybe even just like remove the A there and just done. Be done with it. The next one I have here. In this northwestern corner of North Dakota, where catfish fishing and baseball reign supreme, there were plenty of other candidates that fit crazy train category. So in that quote there, I think it should actually be there were plenty of other candidates that fit the crazy train category. Because as it is, it's just like there were plenty of other candidates that fit crazy train category.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then my next one here. Finally, she shoved the dog aside and, taking the deep breath, threw open the screen door, or opened the screen and pulled back the curtain. So I think it should actually be and taking a deep breath, not and taking the deep breath.
Yes.
And my next one, Chase whined, then turned tail and fled, leaving Haley standing there in the darkness, feeling and rather annoyed. So I think the "and" there should actually just be removed. So it's like Haley standing there in the darkness, feeling rather annoyed.
Yes.
And then my next one. Perhaps Dad had inadvertently triggered a short circuit by plugging in one of those electronic pinball machines downstairs. And my last one. Time around seemed to pause completely. So I feel like it should maybe be time around her seemed to pause completely.
It's time.
Or like
just time.
Time seemed to pause completely?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe even like time
specific.
itself seemed to pause completely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's other options that are better than what's there.
Yeah. But that's all I got for Grammar Inquisition. So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
All right, so the one I have here is where the snowmen once stood were now tall, angular, rail-thin figures dressed in dark Victorian attire. Yeah. So it's the double in sort of
Yeah.
rail-thin
Seems
figures
weird.
that were dressed in dark Victorian attire.
Yep.
That's how I fixed that. And then I have a conjunction junction.
Ooh.
And next stop, Conjunction Junction. Doot doot.
It sniffed disdainfully at a small black and white kitten browsing at a food bowl before shoving it aside. It shouldn't even be doing that since Dad had all the electrical stuff replaced. It was coming from the TV. But the door was firmly closed as tightly as if it had been nailed shut. But it was already too late. Finn.
Wow. That was that was rather succinct. Like to the point where it's like it's like something had been noticed but shouldn't have because Dad had figured something out or like done something to it. And then like the door was suddenly really like closed shut and it was already too late. I was like, what was too late? What?
The way I saw that is like it started with like a cat getting pushed away with by something, and then it's like it shouldn't have been able to do that because the electricity was off. So I'm like, okay, was it like a weird robot that pushed the cat away? And then it's like it came out of the TV. So I'm like, okay, does this TV have like weird like mechanical arms that came out of it? And then it's like, but it couldn't have done that because it was locked behind the door. It's like, okay, so now the TV is locked behind a door, but it still managed to get its weird like hands underneath or through the door to push the cat aside to get at the food.
It was already too late. It already got
But yeah, it was too late. Like everything added to the visualization, like in reverse though, it is weird.
To create a completely different story from what we actually had. So, like
Yes,
it wasn't even like wasn't even a succinct rundown of the actual story we read. It was something completely new.
Yes, just the TV cat botherer.
Yeah.
Basically all that was.
Well, the TV was fed up with the cat always sitting on top of it.
Yes,
You know how cats often do with TVs. So at least with old CRT TVs, not now. Like I can't say. I hate that we had to clarify that now because like nowadays, like people listening to this probably don't even, like. It's like, oh, what are you talking about? Like my cat could never even fit on my like paper thin like LED screen.
Yeah, my thin ass TV that's hanging on a wall.
Yeah,
how would the cat get there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Back in my day, they had the TV was like a giant box.
Yeah.
Cats love to lay on them.
Yeah. These kind of silly things happen though when Mikey grabs all the sentences throughout a story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, because there's always better words to use.
Indeed. And Gamer, do we have a grammar in yellow?
A little bit. So, I'm gonna preface the whole story with like all the stuff written in the diary technically gets a pass for grammar because the character might not know any better for how they should be writing, but I will bring up any issues I see regardless.
Okay.
But it's technically the way the character writes. Like
The whole story though, or
everything
like,
that is in quotations. Sorry,
Yeah.
everything that is in quotations and italics
yes,
simultaneously.
yes,
Yes, that's specifically because if it's
'cause I was
just in
gonna say, like-
quotations, it's someone talking.
yeah. Because like there is a point where like she like starts writing again, and then like it kind of cuts to basically what it
I'll
equivalently
get there.
is a flashback. But yeah, okay.
Either way, moving on. Some of these keys came smeared with blood, which were later proved to be that from from a lamb, while others were attached with travel tags in various foreign languages. So when I first started reading that, I read it as, which were later proved to be that from a lamb, while others were attached. Like, it just blends through it. Meanwhile, it should have a comma, because I don't know what a lamb while is. I mean, whatever creature that is.
Fair, yeah. I mean, we are dealing with an M.M. Pratt story, so like she's made up mythical creatures before. So
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I'll give this critically silly thing a pass.
Okay, cool. But yeah, it should be, which were later proved to be that from a lamb, comma, while others came attached with travel tags, just to give like a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, fair.
And separation. And then this next one is 3 small sentences that I feel like should just be one. It's, I didn't used to believe in ghosts and demons. Period. In the continuation of a restless spirit that persists long after death. Period. Now I know better. Period. It just feels like disjointed to be 3 tiny little sentences like that. I'd connect the first 2 with a comma and use ellipses on the last one for emphasis.
Because like I could keep that last short one because of the emphasis use, but the semicolon would also work as well.
I didn't say semicolon. I said ellipses.
Sorry, ellipses would also work.
Also, all the suggestions you did? No, I'm doing other ones.
Well, I mean, a semicolon would also fit as well, but also, an ellipses would work as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, for some reason, when you said ellipses, I for some reason translated that as a semicolon in my head.
No, those are very different. Yeah, my correction would be, I didn't used to believe in ghosts and demons. In the continuation of a restless spirit that persists long after death. Ellipses. Now I know better.
Yeah.
That being said, the sentence after that also has an ellipses at the end, so it might be a little too many ellipses, so maybe just period that one out for emphasis on that one, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my next one is this transition when it switches from what's written in the diary as italic quotations into just standard writing procedure. And it's got like a quadruple space down to like kind of separate it, but I don't feel like it's enough of a separation.
Fair.
Because it's entirely possible that something like that was just accidentally done by hitting enter 1 or 2 extra times. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because when I started reading it, up until this point, everything that was in italics and quotes was what was being written in the journal. Yeah. So when it says, I remember it happening like this, ellipses, and then it goes to no quotes, no italics, which was describing what she was doing in the present, saying the aroma of baked apples and fresh catfish lingered in the heated kitchen. I mean, it's like, okay, so she was about to write it, and then all of a sudden she starts smelling apples. Like, that's what I first thought.
Yeah.
I didn't connect this as the actual flashback, aka story that is actually being told.
Yeah, so maybe like a horizontal line then to divide that? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be better, or just have the entire story in standard formatting, because like every time it brings up the diary stuff, it says so. Like, because like there's the first paragraph, then it says Haley Uland considered what you just wrote. Okay, so then what was just said was just written. Like, after you read it, it immediately tells you what it was. So I don't know if it has to be different formatting in the intro and the main story.
Yeah, I think, and this is something that M.M. Pratt has done before. I think something that I've kind of caught on is that it's treated. This story is kind of treated a little bit like almost like a like it was a transcript of like a TV show or like a movie, where like the character at the beginning is like writing in her journal and stuff like that, like, and we're hearing narration, and then like the cat thing happens, and then she starts writing again after that scene is kind of resolved, and she starts writing again, and then it starts fading into basically fading out to a flashback, which is the rest of the movie basically. Yeah. Which is her writing, technically her writing, but it's like we're getting it captioned into a normal kind of flashback where we're not just hearing it being told like as she's writing it. We're actually just seeing the scene play out. So yeah, I like that kind of like narrative, like how that's set up. But like again, it can be a little confusing as to like how it's translating in like the written word. So yeah, maybe to a horizontal line, or perhaps like go with like how other like writing is done with the word like I'd say maybe even like convert like the rest of the story into like sort of like do quotations at the beginning of each paragraph and then like leave it till the very end, like how almost like the story is being written by Haley the whole time.
Yeah, you could. Yeah,
Hmm.
it would also have to all be in italics as well.
Yeah. Oh God. could you handle an entire story that's all in italics?
I don't know. I hate them so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, my point though is the narrator telling us what Haley is doing and the narrator telling us what she's writing in her story don't have to be different formatting. It could just be all the same throughout the entire story and it wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
And then my last one, this is when Chelsea's about to be attacked and Haley's watching this on TV. Then the scene suddenly shifted again. Now Chelsea was plastered against the front door. Her face had gone ashen gray. So previously, she was just outside she was out in the back. And all these creatures were in the backyard.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden she's plastered against the front door. But so she was in the backyard with the monsters there, and then all of a sudden it says she's plastered against the front door. Shouldn't she just be plastered against the back door because she's in the back?
So I'm gonna have to reread this bit a little bit, I think, because like I was under the impression that she was on the porch of her little cabin that's in the back of that property as the snowmen are encroaching, and then so like technically the door that she's slammed against is her front door.
Right, she has a little cabin in the backyard of her parents' house.
Her aunt's place, but yeah. Sorry.
Right. Ah, fuck. It's a front back door.
Yeah, it's the front door of a cabin in the backyard.
That's annoying.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not the story's fault.
No, it's not. It's not at all. I forgot about that. That's all.
It's okay.
Regardless, though, the way it was described to me, it seemed like the scene was like you're looking through the glass of the door when her like face is pressed up against it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, did you say yes?
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah.
However, after reading it, I don't think that's the case at all, because I think her back is plastered against the door as she's looking out onto the backyard, which is technically her front yard, seeing these creatures there, because she walked out there, saw them, and went back against the door in shock. Because it says she's staring at them, so she wouldn't be staring at them if she was looking through into her house.
Yeah, no, exactly. I had the similar kind of issue, because I like my first when she was splattered against the wall,
just gibbed.
Yeah, it was like Akira style, just like blood splatter against the wall.
Yeah.
But then I realized, oh no, she's like jumped back because oh shit, these things have transformed or are moving toward her.
Yes.
Because before she'd gone out onto her porch and was just like, what the fuck are with these snowmen? And then suddenly they transformed, like, oh shit, and she's like backing up in fear. Yeah. But the way it's described,
it should say plastered, or her back was plastered against the front door.
Yeah, it should maybe clarify. I mean, I love the floweriness. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love when authors do flowery stuff, but yeah, the way this is flowered up, it's like, yeah, she was plastered against the front door. It's just like, that's it. It's like, and her face had gone ashen gray, her mouth open and closing like a gaping fish, and like her eyes were glazed over. It's like, so she's dead as she's been like splattered half across the front door. But that's not the case. She's just like backed up and like she can't go any farther back, and she's like terrified. So it should maybe clarify that a little bit more in the description.
Yeah, the way it's described, it's fine. It literally just has to say her back was plastered against the back door, or against the front door, technically.
Yeah,
because that's the direction she is, like, or plastered against the door facing the yard, you know. Because there's two ways you can be plastered against something.
Exactly, yeah.
But that's the end of my grammar in yellow.
All right. Well, then I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts. I'm going to start with this one here. She noticed the blizzard of black and white dots moving oddly, not randomly like what you expect static to behave, but organizing themselves into recognizable words. They walk, come they will. Don't let them in nor give them bread. They will mean you ill and leave you dead. Okay, so I as somebody who likes adding little like dread poems and shit like that in my own writing and stuff, I really liked this. And this was a nice little payoff to like the odd situation of like the silent static that like when the power went out and like all that was left was this like static TV. I was like, okay, what's gonna happen here? Is there gonna be something cool? And then we kind of, for me personally, I liked this little payoff of this warning that was being like as the static started coalescing. It's very, very Poltergeist, but also very John Carpenter. This felt something out of like They Live or even like Prince of Darkness, like the transmission that you get that's perceived in those movies. So I really liked this part where we got like the power going out and then like she's receiving a message through like a creepy static TV that for all intents and purposes shouldn't be on as well, but it's something supernatural, obviously.
Yes.
I actually had some notes that I actually removed from my thoughts because I was like, well, what the hell? Why is the TV not static? Or why is the TV static when the power's out? And I was like, oh, it does explain it in the story.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 times throughout the story, like I make an entire note and then I read another sentence after it, and then I just delete my entire note I just wrote.
Because the story clarifies it. It's like, yeah.
Also, speaking of They Live for a second, that's the one where Rowdy Roddy Piper and Keith David fight forever, right?
Yeah, that's the longest fight ever. I
don't think I've actually sat down and seen the movie. I've seen the fight scene, and I've seen the South Park parody of it, where Timmy and Jimmy fight forever.
Yeah. We absolutely need to watch it because it is such a fun, like, and kind of like low key spooky movie.
Yeah, for sure.
But I digress. I'll move on to the next thing I have.
Before you move on, should we talk about the image that is static that looks like it could have words?
I saw that. Yeah, I does it actually have an like?
I think it's just a watermark of whoever made it.
I think it might be actually. I think the actual like. I think that like that lighter
like Shutterstock or something.
Yeah, I think that might be Shutterstock.
I can't see it.
It's really like it's super obscure, like in the static.
Yeah.
Stock photo. That's what it says.
Does it actually?
Yeah. I can like if I squint, I can actually see it.
I mean, it still works for the story because there's words in the static.
Yeah,
that is hilarious, though.
I will say this: I am kind of confused as to why the story is titled Umbra.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. This is like a spontaneous note right now because I was just like realizing like, why is it called Umbra? There's nothing.
Umbra is the darkest part of a shadow, isn't it?
I believe so.
I just googled it and it says Umbra is the innermost or darkest part of a shadow.
Then yeah. So like, but why? Why like?
Where's the Umbra? Well, she was in darkness because the power went off.
Oh, maybe that's it. But like, I feel like the story could also just been called like TV snow, because like it deals with snowmen, but also TV snow is a term for static.
Oh yeah, true.
I guess Umbra because like the power went out and like it was darkened there, or maybe because of like those dark figures that transformed from the snowmen. But
if the dark creatures were shadow creatures, it would make more sense.
Yeah, because as it is, like it sounds like they're just like dark cloaked, like dark clothing, not like they're made of shadow.
It specifically says that they're like Victorian clothing stuff. Like you could tell what they are, you just can't see their faces.
Yeah.
Or no, they had no face?
I kind of got like a very slender man kind of.
It was obscured, so you couldn't see it.
Obscured.
Oh yeah, it was obscured by a veil. No, it was obscured. Yeah, it was obscured by like a black veil or something.
A veil of Umbra.
Umbra. Again, no one outside of our group of friends and maybe some Warframers are gonna know what the hell we're talking about.
Very quickly clarify. Umbra was a character that came out in Warframe Japan, or China rather, the China release of Warframe, and everyone in the North American release of Warframe wanted it, and we had to wait until the Chinese version of the game went under for them to be able to release it, because it was like an exclusivity thing.
Yeah, and
so everyone
the
was
wait
like going nuts over them, and our friend group was just like, guys, just shut up.
Well, yeah, several of our friends like were too excited for it, and then we were just like started like poking fun at them, like, Umbra,
Yeah.
yeah. There, we clarified that in joke.
There. Now, when we accidentally reference it later, at least it'll make sense.
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, I'll move on to the next thing I have here. Though the frost-etched opening that was once the TV screen. There's actually a grammar inquisition there. It should be through the frost-etched opening that was once the TV screen.
What did it say before?
It said though.
Oh.
It's missing an R. That's not my actual thought. So Haley found herself staring onto a perfectly white lawn surrounded surrounding a big grayish white house. Oh no, Haley suddenly gasped. That's my house. Then she noticed the ornate trim and stained glass windows and heaved a big sigh of relief. Oh wait, that's the Dupree residence. And I kind of found this really funny because I was like, oh, thank God. Fuck the Duprees. Like,
what she thinks, basically.
Like, shit, that's my house. That's posted on the Supernatural like TV screen thing. And then she realizes she sees like the differences and it's like, oh, thank God. It's just the Duprees. Fuck them.
Someone else's house. I don't need to be scared anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I just kind of really liked the I don't know if it was like meant for like silliness, but like I found it kind of just fun. Just like oh, thank God. Oh, wait. That's the Duprees. Big sigh of relief.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. Unlike Haley, who came from Ann Arbor, Michigan, Chelsea came from Curtisville, California. Unlike Haley, however, she was an irresponsible, thieving slob with a creepy obsession with various anime and game characters. Man, what is with the Curtisville stories? And characters shaming anime fans. What did we do to you?
They're all dirty.
I know that, like, I do know that, like, I know some anime fans aren't the best at hygiene because, like, first off, most of that stereotype is focused on like teenagers.
You said most of us, actually.
yeah. Well, because like most of it was like most of us were like teenagers, like for that, like fit that stereotype and stuff like that. But like not all otaku, man. I know, like otaku also like it was originally a derogatory term by from Japan for like people who are like layabouts and super obsessed and like basically like super nerds and shit. But like, goddamn.
Otaku just means nerd, not specifically a type of nerd.
Yeah, so otaku in North America and like outside of Japan is like done up like a point of pride to like for anime fans, like I'm an otaku. But in Japan, like it originated from something from like a slur, I think.
Well, it's kind of like how nerd is now. It's not really derogatory anymore, but it used to be. At least I don't think it is. In modern Japanese slang, the term otaku is most equivalent to geek or nerd, both in the broad sense and a technological geek, and then an academic nerd. But in a more derogatory manner than used in the West. So it's more derogatory in Japan for nerds than it is here in the West. Yeah.
But yeah, I just like this is like the third I think story that like somebody has like shamed or is just like or like where one of the like the one of the antagonistic characters in one of these Curtisville stories is like referred to like in like shamed as a weeb and stuff like that. It's like, man, what's Emma Pratt's deal with otaku? Like, is it like a jokey thing or is like I don't know necessarily if it's like a serious thing. Maybe it's just like she's just poking fun. But like, man, like, what's up with that?
Twice is a coincidence. 3 is a pattern. How many times has it happened?
Yeah, exactly. More probably at least 3 times. I think I recall.
Because the other one I recall, I think, was the emotion vampire one.
Yeah, there's the emotion vampire, and then like in actual Curtisville, and then there's the one from Curtisville that was in that like English other dimension place. That was like where it was like Ellie Lambert, I think was described as like as an otaku or a weeb.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
Yeah. But there were
That's
other
a pattern.
characters,
She hates weebs.
or like again, it maybe like it might
know.
be an in
I'm joking.
again, it might be an in joke itself. Like maybe she's just like poking fun at her people. Who knows? Again, we don't
sure,
know
yeah.
Emma Pratt personally, so we don't know.
No.
Although Emma Pratt, if you'd like to clarify what the heck what the deal is with this pattern that you we're seeing in your stories, I mean,
Got the cork board up.
yeah. Also, yay, Curtisville connection. We have somebody from Curtisville, because I was like, oh, this is North Dakota. This is in Curtisville. And then another character, strangely enough, from Curtisville, who is sent away because their parents hate them and sent to like a family member abroad, because they're a troublemaker, or like they're sort of like a layabout at home. Because again, like Ellie Lambert was sent away across like overseas, and I guess across like through dimensions, to that other UK kind of place.
Yeah.
To her relatives. So, yeah. Again, we're constructing tropes in Curtisville stories by M.M. Pratt. And then my next thing here is she was on the verge of turning the TV off and calling it a night when the picture changed again. Not with a static wave, but with a sudden shift in scenery. Once an empty suburban backyard, now it was completely carpeted with snowmen of various shapes and sizes. Some of them dressed in various historical costumes, and a few had grisly wounds caused by embedded knives and cleavers. That would be really concerning. Like, just an army of snowmen appearing on your lawn, like a Calvin and Hobbes like comic strip. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about with like Calvin and Hobbes?
I know what Calvin and Hobbes are. I don't recall the snowman analogy with them.
There's a bunch of the comic strips from Calvin and Hobbes where like I think Calvin is the kid. Basically creates a bunch of like intricate like scenes of snowmen like dying in battle and such.
Nice.
Just on his like front lawn or something. Yeah. Also, kind of weird. I recently watched, and I think I brought this up in a previous episode, an analog horror film about a town besieged by killer snow and specifically snowmen, called Winter of '87. So just like weird that like I'm getting now like recently watched this analog horror about killer snowmen, and now I'm reading a story that's effectively about killer snowmen, or snowmen that transform into killer monsters.
It seems like there's always connective tissues time in like every single freaking recording we do. There's something that's relevant.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than like living under a rock and never like interacting with the world. So,
speak for yourself.
I'll move on to the next thing I have here. With a puzzled expression on her pudgy baby face, she looked around as she scratched her curly blonde head and then plucked out a large flake of dandruff. Ugh. Haley screwed up her face in disgust. That's so gross. Yeah, okay, fair enough. That is kind of gross. Like, I know I was defending the whole like, well, like, why do you take the like otaku like weebs at otaku? It's no, that's pretty gross.
I mean, anyone can be like dirty. They don't have to be an otaku to be dirty.
Yeah, but I'm not, this isn't like necessarily attacking that, but like it's like all right, yeah, like all right, this character is kind of gross too. Yeah, doesn't help matters. But I'll move on to the next thing. This is the scene. I think this is the part with. Then the scene suddenly shifted again, and now Chelsea was plastered against the floor, against the front door. Her face had gone ashen gray, her mouth open and closed like that of a gasping fish. Her eyes were glazed straight ahead. A spine-tingling chill rippled down Haley's back when she saw what the girl was staring at. Where the snowmen once stood, there were now tall, angular, rail-thin figures dressed in dark Victorian attire. Kind of what one would expect Jack the Ripper to look like. The ones in back turned slowly around to regard Haley. Man, this is getting very surreal, and these creepy guys were like a grouping of snowmen a second ago. Like the whole I just really appreciate like the kind of creepy surrealism that this story has been like projecting. Like just the kind of dream, like kind of almost like Lynchian dream logic kind of shit that's going on in this. And it also like is backed up that there is actually a threat possibly to Haley because the back row on the screen turned to face the screen, i.e. her. So it's like they're like watching her now. It's like you stare into the abyss and it stares back. So I kind of liked that when it got to this description of like basically these like Victorian Slendermen were transformed from the snowmen, and then like as some of them are encroaching on Chelsea on the screen, then a couple of them are like just turn around to stare at the viewer of the screen. So
I didn't even catch that happening.
Yeah.
The ones in back turned slowly around to regard Haley.
Yeah. So effectively.
Yes. Sorry. I thought that for some reason I thought Haley was Chelsea in that situation.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I just wanted to like bring that up because I just really liked the surrealness of it, or of the story specifically. So, and then I'll move on to my next one if that's okay.
No.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I'll move on to my next and last quote and comments. Stumbling to the back door, she threw it open. The first words she was about to blurt out were, "Mom, Dad, Chelsea Dupree's dead. She got killed and eaten by Satanists. I saw it all happen on the TV. Not I saw all happen on the TV. Anyway, instead, much to her dismay and horror, entirely different words came spilling out. Even though she tried in vain to clamp them down, they burst out of her hoarse throat in a dry, croaking rasp. Or a croaking gasp. "I'm okay. I was just watching a scary movie and I freaked out and broke another plate." Mom groaned and Dad said, "Not again." Okay, I guess maybe something took control of her there. This kind of
It was a horse. I thought she was human.
Yeah, I know. For a moment, she just moving on.
Yes, please.
Yeah, like this kind of ending has sort of become a common trend I find in M.M. Pratt's writing. Like, again, we've got like some other tropes that we've kind of built up in the story that are like tropes from M.M. Pratt stories. Though I still sort of expected to have some kind of like callback or like kind of wraparound like end here from like the beginning part. I guess the wraparound bit was like she didn't believe in the supernatural stuff until this event that she's writing down in her journal.
Yes,
like,
it doesn't necessarily need a cap on the end.
Yeah, but like I kind of wanted some more of a conclusion, like maybe to like let us know it's like later that day or like the next day they found Chelsea. They found what was left of Chelsea, or her aunt found what was left of Chelsea, like on her cabin porch or something like that. Like,
that's one thing we don't get. We don't know if what she saw actually happened. For all we know, Chelsea's fine, and none of that actually happened.
Yeah, or is this just like a premonition? Like maybe like again, like the static TV was silent, so like maybe this was all like just a vision that Haley had of what was going to happen to Chelsea, so that she might be able to prevent it, or was this happening like now, kind of thing? It kind of just ends in a way that kind of happens in other M.M. Pratt stories, unfortunately. But yeah, like those ones, it left me wanting more, or left me wanting just a little bit more, even just like some clarity on like how the character, or like what happened, like what actually happened, like not just it just kind of ends. It doesn't actually like even have like one of those like zingers, kind of ending, like cliffhanger zinger endings that horror stories sometimes have. It just kind of stops.
Well, the zinger is the fact that it can puppet her.
What can like what is like I'm all for out of context horror, but like for this one specifically, like what's doing this? Like, we don't even have any inkling whatsoever outside of like some snowmen that turn into Victorian like Slendermen.
It's Umbra that's doing it.
Yeah, like maybe but it was Umbra the whole time.
Yeah,
that Warframe.
Umbra got in contact with his bro Necros to raise some like Shadows of the Dead on Chelsea's front back lawn and murder her.
Frost.
Yeah, with Frost, he helped. It was cold out.
Yeah. Oh God. But yeah, it's just like I liked portions of the story because of like the surrealism and stuff, but this ending just kind of like it left me wanting, and not in a good way.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, well, it makes you wonder if there's like another story with the mom and the dad.
Yeah, and I did check. Apparently, this was like part of a competition that was submitted, but I don't think there's anything else from this, as far as I know. Where's this sit in her stories? Apparently, this is between Far Lieth Weather, which we've done, and Summer Break, which we've also done.
Is in order?
Not really. They're
great.
They're sort of just done. Like this one, like I this one didn't. Remember, like the Curtisville stories, like generally will have like this happened before this or after this. This one seems like a standalone because it doesn't have any of that mention on the Creepypasta wiki site. It's just an incident that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess I could have gone back and seen if like Chelsea Dupree was like a character that we've read about before. It sounds familiar, but like it also just sounds like a Curtisville character.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that like in a bad way. Like it sounds quirky enough, or sounds like unique enough that like it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got for Umbra.
Yeah, and to continue the thought that was just said, when I read, oh wait, that's the Dupree residence. My first thought was, is this Curtisville? Because I'm pretty sure Dupree was one of the families in Curtisville, and then not long later we find out that Chelsea came from Curtisville.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense.
Called it.
I'm just gonna go into find an edit and just look up Dupree and like a bunch of Curtisville stories.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow and Fog and Firelight, maybe. I checked the Canaries; it's not in there.
It's grind the episode to a halt while you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, it's not in Shadow, Fog, and Firelight. Curiosity Killed the Rat. It's not in Curiosity Killed the Rat.
You go through every single one. It's like, okay, there's a new one here.
What about Summer Break? Maybe it's in Summer Break. Nothing in Summer Break.
This is very important.
Absolutely. Farlath Weather. Nothing. I'm trying to see which ones we've done. On a Lonesome Road, maybe.
You can guess what's going to happen here.
Nothing.
What surprise?
I'm seeing no Duprees. So unless Chelsea was just another like a character that we heard about.
You don't need to. Like again, like you said.
No, I know. Yeah,
it's the naming is very much like a lot of other characters in these series of stories, so that's why it feels like it's a character we already know. Also, because she's also a quote unquote bad person who is a weeb. So that's another reason that we think it's someone we know, because we've seen that character a couple times before.
Yeah, we've seen that character archetype before.
Yes.
Maybe the way through the woods.
You can stop at any time, you know.
Yeah, it's funnier this way.
Okay.
No, maybe Summer Break 2017.
That has promise.
I hope this is as funny to me as it is to you guys. Just like me, the absurdity of me doing this search. No, okay, there's no Dupree.
Okay, good. That was well worth our time.
Yeah. So glad I did this.
That makes one of us.
Thanks. I hate it. Did we do the Gorgon smile? Never mind. Sorry. I'm done.
I don't recall that name.
We haven't done that one, so we might have to do that one.
And as you know, my memory is impeccable. I
Yeah.
remember all the things.
Yes. Sorry, Mikey, you were continuing, yeah.
Yeah, and then the ending, it didn't give me that shock factor, twist factor that it was going for.
Yeah,
Like-
honestly, it almost feels like it was setting up something and then just stops.
Yeah. And instead we get a not again from the mom and dad, and it's like, what do you mean again?
She's broken plates before, apparently.
Well, but are they talking about the plates, or are they talking about her with a hoarse throat and a dry croaking gasp?
I assumed it was her. It was in response to her, like what she had said, like she was watching a scary movie, freaked out, and broke another plate. But I guess it could have also just been like this, her throat switching to like a dry croaking gasp.
Yeah.
Oh, not again! She's possessed again.
Happens every Tuesday.
God dang it! God damn it, Haley!
Yeah. And then, my other actual thought here, we go back to the beginning, where the intro, from me, sets this up for a snowman uprising
Yeah,
that we just don't get.
I know. Like I was actually, legitimately, I was for that. Like, yeah, let's go for let's get crazy here.
Build us and leave us out there to melt and die.
Leave us out in the cold.
I mean, they are cold, so that'd be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that it sort of explains it, like it just snowed, like, and there's not a lot of snow out there, but these snowmen start popping up. It's like, what? Like,
This is supernatural weirdness, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And then I was very disappointed when later the snowmen turned into Victorian era, basically vampires.
Oh my god! You know, I just realized they became Dickensian horrors. So bah humbug! Like they all became Scrooge McDuck. They became Scrooge. I accidentally crossed over with like Scrooge McDuck versus just
Scrooge
Ebenezer
Scrooge,
Scrooge.
I understand.
Yeah, yeah. They all just became Ebenezer Scrooges. Because rail thin, like black cloaked, Victorian era, that's very very what you imagine Ebenezer Scrooge kind of looking like as he's hobbling around the streets.
That's also what everyone wore back then.
I know, yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. So my disappointment in that is immeasurable.
Wow.
So.
Immeasurable disappointment.
Jeez.
That's rough.
Rip.
And that's the end of my actual thoughts.
All right. Gamer.
Let's see. What have I not talked about?
Can you beat immeasurable disappointment?
How could I? It's immeasurable. Any disappointment I have is measurable. But okay, we'll start near the beginning where it says beginning around the first snowfall in early November, people began to find snowmen in their yards with no idea of who exactly made them. So when you're talking first snowfall, how much we talking? I ask because like it changes the weirdness of it quite a bit. Because if the first snowfall was an inch or two, and then there's fully made snowmen there with like none of the snow around them disturbed, that's extra weird. Compared to like if it snowed a foot or a couple of feet in the first snowfall, and then there's snowmen, it's like, oh well, maybe like in the middle of the night, some kids came around and made a snowman, and then it continued snowing, so it kind of covered up their tracks a bit. Like it's potentially explainable out. But when there's almost no snow and fully made snowmen, it's like,
Yeah,
weird.
I was thinking maybe an inch or two.
I actually just checked online the average first snowfall in North Dakota.
Wow.
And it can get up to about, apparently the state experiences an average of 37 inches or 94 centimeters of snow per season. So I mean that's per season. Apparently the average snowfall range is about 30 inches. With the north and south getting receiving slightly more than the central part of the state.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily the first snowfall.
No.
But
No.
who knows?
Yeah. So like I mean that's not incomprehensible or like not like that's nothing to laugh about, or that's nothing to like. Wow, I've just like lost that turn of phrase. In my, like
Nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah, nothing to shake a stick at. Like the snowman's arm.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, like that kind of turns a phrase. But yeah, like the first couple of snowfalls, or the first snowfall in early November. So like. Yeah, how much snow? Like it'd be impressive. Like especially if like it's just something these snowmen appeared on lawns, like and like the snow around them is still fresh.
Yeah, fresh and barely anything there.
Yeah.
So TLDR, this note, I wish it said how much snow is actually on the ground because don't think it does.
Yeah, like that's definitely something like could be interesting. It's like they're remarking like who made them, but also more importantly, like where did they make them? Because the snow was untouched around them.
How did they make them? Because the snow was untouched.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It turns out you like walk over them and just poke it, and it's like a plastic one that you just buy from a Walmart and just falls over.
Yeah.
That makes more sense now.
Oh, okay. They're just fake.
Yeah, not real snow. They're not really like examined. It's just there's snowmen there. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, there's snowmen that have like they're wearing costumes and also have like that's the
that's
the
after that's when they're not snowmen anymore.
Yeah, they're just snowmen. Yeah, they're just like they're just snowmen. They're not like the ones from the screen that was like a horde of snowmen in different costumes that had cleavers and knives stuck in them.
Yes, those were different.
Yeah.
But I'll move on from here.
Sure.
So early on in the story, it says, actually, how do you say her last name? Euland?
I went with Euland.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It says, Haley Euland considered what she just wrote and then stared out of her bedroom window. So up until this point, we had no mention of where this is. So I had nothing to go on to like think about where this is taking place. So I just Googled the last name, and it's like a Norway sort of name. It's Norwegian. So I'm like, okay, this is in Norway until. Then a few paragraphs on, I was like, nope, it's North Dakota. Fuck.
Yeah.
And she came from Michigan, so nothing to do with Norway.
Well, I mean, except like I think a lot of I might be mixing this up, but I think a lot of Norwegians like immigrated to like Michigan, but
nothing directly.
Yeah. No actual direct relation to Norway.
No. And then
as I look up the average nationality of Michigan.
Wow. Is this important?
Not really.
Are you going to do it anyways?
It's already almost done.
Processing.
Wow, complete off. Okay. Thanks.
American.
No, like ethnicities, majority of ethnicities, white, non-Hispanic. Thanks, Google.
That helps.
Yeah, I guess I should have done like the average white families, white family ethnicity. Not that this really matters.
It really doesn't.
German, British, Irish, Polish, Belgian, Scandinavian, and Finnish and Dutch. So Scandinavians in there in the Upper Peninsula apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it's just a smattering. So it really doesn't matter whatsoever. I'll shut up.
Okay, cool. So moving on. Outside, the wind whipped through the surrounding trees. The bare branches rattled and shook, sending showers of fresh snow over the previously powdery layer covering the ground. So, this was mentioned soon after it's talking about like the snowmen. So then it got me thinking like it would be a neat idea, and I wasn't sure at the time if they were going to do this, which they didn't, but it'd be kind of cool if the snowmen that were showing up outside could just be the snow falling from the trees and covering like manifested ghosts that are standing on the lawn.
Yeah, that's honestly kind of what I thought was going to happen. Was like it was like because she mentions like ghosts earlier. Like she didn't believe in the paranormal or like in like ghosts and like things like that. So like yeah, like are these like ghost possessing snowmen or something along those lines?
Well, what I'm saying, it has nothing to do with them being snowmen. Them being snowmen is just because like it's a fucking ghost that's manifested on your front lawn that isn't moving and is sitting there waiting for you, and snow falls on it, which covers it.
So it's just
But
waiting.
it's just waiting there, just standing there.
Oh God, yeah. Okay, I see what I thought you meant. Like they were manifesting, and so like they were basically just like building themselves a body out of the snow. But no, they're just standing
the
there.
manifested ghost that is just getting covered in snow because it is on our corporeal plane or whatever the fuck.
Oh, would that happen in Shadowrun when a spirit manifests? Sorry, Mikey. If like a spirit manifests, like materializes, you can touch them. Like they do physical damage, right? When they're
which means other things can touch them, like snow.
So if they so if a Watcher spirit is fully manifested and materialized and just like sits on somebody's lawn and it starts snowing heavily, they could be covered by the snow because and like they wouldn't care because they're ghosts. They don't feel the cold and anything like that.
The cold never bothers them anyway.
That's kind of amazing and kind of like a cool. That's also that would actually be a really cool, creepy like imagery of just like, what's that snowman doing out there? That's not a snowman. It looks like that there's parts that you can see that are like invisible or like that aren't there. And then it's just like, wait, that's some invisible guy or some kind of like thing that the snow's covering. Yeah, that'd be so much creepier.
Said we got what we got, but that's
and again, like I do like what we got because like again, like I do find it kind of like surreal, creepy. Just like an army of snowmen attacking you after transforming into the Victorian Slenderman.
Yeah, but they're just sort of like they're summoned to be used when they need to be summoned instead of them. I like the idea of like it's out there stalking you, like waiting for biding its time, just trying to blend in.
Yeah, you want the snowmen to be the symptom, not the actual, like not the original, like not the origin of like the horror here. Or like the snowmen are the draping, not the actual like creature itself.
Which it technically is, because the actual creature itself in this is whatever is under the snow, which is the same sort of thing. It's just done in a different context compared to what I'm suggesting.
I didn't even just like I just put that together. Like maybe they didn't even transform into these like these slender these Victorian like tall men. What if they were actually just already in those snowmen and they just like burst out?
How does it describe that scene actually?
It literally just like the scene just changes and they're suddenly where the snowmen were, there's now just these figures. So it could be like that. They could have just like burst out of their own snowman shells. Or they could have like metamorphed out of the snowmen.
Yeah. Yeah, because it just says where the snowmen once stood were now tall, angular, rail-thin figures.
Yeah.
So we don't actually know how they shifted from one or to the other.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'll move on from there. So, speaking of the TV staying on and weird supernatural shit happens, is like, so weird shit starts happening in front of her. And this kid of 15 years old doesn't call for her parents when, like, the TV stays on when the power's out, first off.
Yeah.
That the static starts making creepy words, or when it shows a house through there, or like when she realizes the neighbor's house, or when it zooms into the neighbor's backyard, or when the backyard is suddenly covered in snowmen, or when it shows Chelsea in enough detail to see dandruff fall, or like
Yeah.
when it shows her creepily staring and like getting murdered. Throughout this entire thing, she doesn't do anything. It's the same sort of situation as I get when I read most video game creepypastas, where it's like the creepy stuff is happening in there, and they're watching it because they're watching it, even though they could just turn the screen off or look away. But it's not
going to.
It's the same sort of thing here, where like she doesn't call for help, she doesn't try to leave or anything, which I thought was kind of weird. But by the time we get to the end, we see that whatever was showing her all this also has control of her body. So maybe the reason that she didn't call for help earlier, she didn't look away, she didn't try to walk away or cover her eyes or anything, is because she couldn't.
Ah.
So the entire time, she's being held hostage watching this until it's done showing us its message.
Yeah. Because like I sort of just assumed like she just got caught up in the moment as like off as
That's a long ass moment.
It happens in fucking movies and stories all the time. Like it may be lazy, but it happens all too often. But the story also kind of gave us like time suddenly froze around her. And yeah, like you said, like in the very near the end, it seemed like there was something that was controlling her, like what she was saying and possibly like what she was doing. So like, yeah, maybe that same thing was keeping her in place to bear witness to these events.
Otherwise, I don't know why she would stay there for that long, especially when she's witnessing a murder. And is like not wanting to help. Like, I know she doesn't like the person, but she's still a human being.
She does like shout out at the screen, like trying to in vain to tell Chelsea to like to run or something like that.
Yes, but, and that's when the parents hear. Yeah. So I guess actually that itself says that she has full control of her voice, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that you might be discounting the childlike wonder of this kind of character. Like, I mean, my niece is kind of like this as well, like where she will like she gets glued to the screen and stuff like that. And even when like there are scary shit, until like something really freaks her out.
Yes, but that's when the power's on and you're watching a show and you know you're watching a show, not when the power is completely off to your house and the TV's still on. And you're seeing these shots of your neighbor's place who are clearly not television stars, watching them being murdered. How do you explain that?
I get like us adults would react differently, I think, than a child would.
I guess.
Like that's how I'm taking it. Like, because like even both in media and in real life, I've seen like kids act much more curiously than logically and horrific and horrified manner of this kind of like wrongness. Yeah. Like that's where the whole thing of like a childlike wonder kind of comes from, is like they like that makes the difference when it comes to like how they would react versus how like an adult would react in the situation.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking too much in the mindset of like 18 to 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Not saying that like well, yeah, and then like for you, like as a reader, like yeah, that's sort of like another aspect of the horror is like us, like adults or like people who are more logical are reading this as like, no, what are you doing? Character, get the fuck out, like do something different. Like that sometimes that's like how like the horror aspect of it is, because like we're us as readers are just as helpless as Haley is to Chelsea to like tell them to do something, but they're not because they are characters in a story and they're acting not what we want, how we want them to act. And sometimes that's good for horror, and sometimes that also leaves the situation of like, I mean, again, the Derpland situation of like, well, like, why didn't this character just nope out of this haunted house as soon as they like one freaky shit thing happened?
Because then we wouldn't have a story.
Exactly, yeah. Like there's that, which is like kind of on the low end of like the bad end of that kind of spectrum, and then like the good side of it is like, oh no, me as a reader feels helpless and like freak and like kind of getting some anxious because this character's like just walking into danger or just not reacting like I want them to react.
Well, for me, it pulls things away from. It's an immersion thing.
Yeah.
If I can't believe what the character's doing, then I can't feel like I'm there. You know.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But this character isn't also like thinking in the same kind of like processes that you would be like as you're an adult versus like them. So
they get a little bit of a pass compared to if it was an adult. Yeah.
Yeah, like if this was like a 20-something like character, like I'd be a little bit more on your side.
Fair point.
Or I'd find some other reason to like counter you.
to counter me, yeah, because that's what you do.
Yeah. We are the two sides of the same coin. We are two different sides of the same coin. Always opposite.
Mm-hmm. But let's see what else is there. My last note is basically just about the very end where Haley like really wants to say something, but she's being forced to say something else, and then it's like mom groaned and dad said, "Not again." Insert laugh track, freeze frame, and credits crawl here because the sitcom episode just ended.
Too many cooks, too many.
Yeah,
cooks.
like I feel like the ending kind of put a silly twist on what was kind of a creepy premise that was happening.
Yeah,
it ends with a sitcom. It's like,
yeah, like I didn't necessarily get like the laugh track and like freeze frame, but I definitely got the wah wah.
Oh.
Like not again. I'll get the belt out and discipline you now.
Jesus. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that them having the dialogue at all.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have happened. It should have just ended with her saying the wrong thing and then the parents believing her. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, because the mom groaned and dad said, "Not again." Like, Haley, laugh track, freeze frame. Now I can't unsee that. Thanks, gamer.
You're welcome. That's what I've been living with.
Hate it. How do you live like this? No.
It's hard. But yeah, like, especially with how the story leaves us with so many questions. If everything was already kind of tied up in a neat little bow, and then it ended with that, it's like, okay, but I was left wanting to know more about what's going on, and like you said, who's doing all this? Like, why are they doing this? Did Chelsea actually die? As Mikey kind of lightly mentioned, were the parents experiencing something in the basement at the same time, but also not able to like communicate with Haley upstairs? We don't know.
Yeah.
Did they come upstairs and the power was still off? Did the power come back on after the events?
The TV shut off with like that kind of thing, like right as after Chelsea gets murdered, and then the power immediately came on, like the refrigerator, the TV. Well, I guess the TV came back on normally, and like the lights on.
Complete with the stampede of turkeys. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, what?
I see. That's what I said. The TV came back on with an episode of Bob's Burgers.
Right. Yeah. So I forgot about that. Like the pop culture references in the story.
Yes.
But yeah. And again, like time did free. Like again, it specifically said like time time change or like stood still, and then
actually though.
Yeah. Literally, like
time seemed to have resumed its normal activity.
Yeah.
Time around seemed to pause completely. I wonder. Okay, so it says that early on. But like, how? How does it seem to pause? Like,
Maybe like
is there a grandfather clock that's normally clicking around?
or like like we need a line like that, or like she looked down and saw Chase mid walk or like mid stride frozen in place, like the dog. Like that's we need something like that, like to show like that time has actually like stood still, because like how does she know in a dark kitchen where all the appliances are shut off because the power's out? Like how does she know that nothing the time has stopped when like all the things around her don't really have many moving parts?
Yeah. Like, did she like pick up a pillow and throw it and it like froze in midair or something? Like, I don't know.
Or did she throw a plate and it froze in midair, and then when time reasserted, it fell and broke?
That'd be cool, actually.
That would have been that would have also tied into her whole thing.
Yeah, like she's freaking out about what she's seeing on the TV, goes to grab a plate, and then like mid throw it stops because like the creature doesn't want her to not be able to see this.
Yeah.
And then it uses it as an excuse later on.
Exactly.
That'd be pretty neat.
That would be a cool addition.
Yeah, that's about all I got for notes.
Okay. Then on to final thoughts. I'm still gonna partially recommend it because I did really like the setup and like the surreal imagery and even the situation at hand, like like her getting this weird vision of like her neighbor basically being torn apart by snowmen and that were then suddenly
Victorian men that were shielded in snow guises,
or they just they were either like shapeshifted from snowmen to like these Victorian beings, and then like I liked the beginning part where like it all started with the snowmen popping on people's properties when like and people not knowing where they came from, and like this weird key that was in envelopes.
But what did the key have to do with anything?
Here's the problem I have with the story.
I completely forgot about the keys.
The problem I have with the story is the ending feels incomplete because it like compared to like the beginning of the story, like I guess like part of it wraps up at the end with like this whole story was basically just her like basically when she realized that like the ghosts and the supernatural existed. But that's only part of the beginning. The rest of the beginning isn't really like wrapped up at all at the end. It just sort of ends. And I kind of wish the story could have gone a little bit further to properly wrap up like why were there keys? Why like we kind of know what the snowmen might have been about. They might have been these weird Victorian fuckers. But like what's with the keys? And like did Chelsea die? Like it was this a vision of what's to come? Is this a spirit of not yet Christmas past or present? Like I kind of wish like the story had like kind of at least given us like the next day Chelsea was found missing or like was found torn apart. Like something along those lines, just to give us some confirmation of that at the end. But
because for all we know, she just hallucinated this.
Exactly, yeah. Like that, it also like that would have also cemented that she experienced something supernatural here, and not just like nothing.
She had no proof.
Yeah. Zach Baggins, she is not. But that's my final thoughts. Partial recommendation. Liked the ideas and the setup. Not really a big fan of the end execution. So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
Well, I did like the setup of potentially a snowman uprising.
Yes.
But then that goes nowhere.
And you were sad.
Yes.
Sorry, immeasurably disappointed.
Yes, to be specific. He said it doesn't actually like set up that on purpose. That's your own headcanon.
So that's really a you problem, not the story's problem.
Yeah, but if you go into this not expecting anything, and then you read that first section, And you go, okay, well, maybe there's a snowman uprising, and then you continue on, and then you get the Victorian era guys suddenly show up, and it's like, oh, that's not snowman. That's no snowman at all.
Yeah, you have an image in your head of something that you desperately want it to be, and it never becomes that. So it doesn't matter if it was something cooler than that. It's not what you wanted it to be, so it's ruined forever. That's happened to me before a couple of times too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, yeah, and the ending was pointed out by a gamer was just silly. But it also seemed like the whole she's under control came out of Left Town.
Yeah.
So I still can't recommend this.
All right. Gamer.
The whole part is because the creature doesn't want itself to be known, I assume. It wants to continue doing what it's doing, so it puppeted her to make sure she couldn't ever say anything about it.
Yeah,
it is kind of out of Left Town, but
we need more. But we need something more then to like kind of.
Yeah, the problem is at the same time, like just before she's quote unquote controlled, she says they probably won't believe me. Probably just say I'm watching too much Sci-Fi Channel on YouTube.
Yeah, like
that's what she ends up saying. Like, is it she is under control, or is it that she's just falling back on what she was originally thinking about saying?
Yeah, like hell, the story could have like ended with like after the whole like mom or maybe not even the mom and get rid of that whole mom grown and dad said not again, but or keep it whatever. But like after that part, we then cut back to her writing this in her journal and tying things up with like I'm still not sure what controlled me that day, blah blah blah. But like something clearly had taken over and tried and stopped me from exposing itself, or exposing the truth.
That being said,
like along those lines,
I hate to say it, this entire story is her being allowed to expose the truth, putting it on the internet.
Well, again, like that's the thing. The story isn't that though. Like the story is not a story that's being told to us specifically, like online. It is a third-person story of her writing this down in her journal. In her own personal writings. She is not sharing this technically with us. A third person narrator is sharing this with us. This is just a story that we're reading. It's not in that immersion level of like it's being posted online.
But she is posting it herself.
No, she's not.
It's yeah, but she is.
I mean, like M. Pratt is posting this story, but like the character Haley Uland is a character, and the story starts with like a bit of like her journal. But like the rest of the
entire thing isn't a journal. There's a journal, and then there's bits that are out of the journal. So the character of Haley is posting this on the internet.
No, she's not.
Okay.
She's absolutely not. She's writing in her journal, like at the beginning of the story, and then the rest of the story after that part is a flashback that she's like writing it in her journal. So because like she's writing it down, like all this stuff down, and like, but like it's not getting posted to us. That's just M. Pratt posting a story in a third person story, which is not like a first person story like that would be immersive.
I suppose. I guess I'm thinking like Reddit no sleep vibes on this for some reason, even though it's not supposed to be.
Yeah, like it's not that kind of situation at all.
No. That's fine.
And so like, yeah, like her putting in her journal is probably fine because it's her personal writing. She's not expecting anybody to find them. But yeah. But yeah, I just think at the end, like if we had a tie up with like her finishing writing down in her journal, like these events, because like the story decided to take some narrative like flavor and have like the part of the beginning be set it up with her writing this in her journal, and then the rest of the story is a flashback to those events that she's writing in her journal. And then we should have had an ending, I feel anyway, where the character is like tying up her writings in her journal and like maybe explaining what the hell happened. But
Yeah, if nothing else, a wraparound to have a little bit more credibility would be nice in regards to Chelsea actually dying, actually going missing, something.
yeah, exactly.
Like they'll never, like I know why she went missing, but they never believe me.
Yeah. Still want to know what the hell those keys were about.
Yeah, what the fuck's with the keys?
You know, it'll be really funny. Those keys, like the snowman and the keys are related. Because how do you think those, like those Victorian, rail thin slender folk, how do you think they got here? It's just their keys that they're mailing to people. I honestly have no idea. Like that's part of the story's mystery that like I'd like to see. Like it should have like been like addressed. It just kind of comes out of nowhere, or it showed up at the beginning and there was no payoff.
Yeah.
To the keys anyway. We know about the snowmen now, but we don't know about the keys.
Yeah, like you could completely write out the keys and it does not change the story at all.
Yeah, honestly, like if you'd just been like people start seeing weird snowmen like appear on their lawns, like, and then the rest of the stories about like goes on about it. Now we like that would actually make it more more cohesive because we wouldn't be wondering about those keys.
Granted, I forgot about them, but if the keys were stuck in my head the whole time, I would have been so pissed by the end.
I would have been so mad.
Because like maybe it's like how the creature got in.
Yeah, like maybe like to
the house to be able to shut the power off and target one person.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. Also, like her dog was like yapping at the door, and she went out. She went and checked the outside, and she didn't see anything. Wouldn't it have been like really cool if she had gone out, like looked at like saw like a figure, like a snow figure off in the distance? Like
yes, it would have. Or if she looked out there to see where the dog's barking at, and the dog is barking at her neighbors, which are
the Duprees.
Yeah. So the dog can sense that there's weird shit going on over there.
And then we
find out that there is.
Yeah, that would have been really good if that had been added. Yeah.
It's like the whole intro up until like the static happens is just a bunch of red herrings being thrown at our face.
Yeah, it's like which
constant
one of these
fish to the face.
Yeah, or it's like
none of them mean anything.
It's like which one of these is gonna matter?
Yeah.
like snowman or weird keys.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is.
Yeah. And I mean, like maybe we're missing something, but like I don't know. Like we've been at this for almost for over an hour now, and like we haven't been able to really come up with it. So.
Right, we're at me about to start my final thoughts, right?
Yeah.
That was all me at like putting a wraparound on Mikey's thoughts because I had thoughts on his thoughts. Now I can start my final thoughts.
Excellent. Do it.
Overall, like reading the story, I liked the story. It's just like the more that we're sitting here talking about it, the more I'm remembering things that are brought up and not utilized at all.
Yeah.
To the point that you can write out multiple things and it doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
Like realistically, the story could start where it says, I remember it happening like this. It could start there and everything ahead of that doesn't matter.
Yep.
And even some of the stuff in the part where it says, I remember it happening like this is red herring stuff, which is fine because like stories do that. They throw stuff at you where it's meant to just be a distraction to what's actually happening. That's fine, but like just happened multiple times in this.
Yeah, like if there's to be like a re-edit of the story, like explain the keys or get rid of them. And like there's a couple of things with the story, like explain or maybe remove or like tie it in better.
Like a red herring would be like when the dog is barking and being like angry at something outside. It's like, okay, is he actually angry at something outside? We don't know. But when there's like bloody keys being delivered to people, That's not a red herring. That is something that is important to what's going on, unless it's something that's happening that has nothing to do with this and it has something to do with another story.
Yeah, exactly. Which and like this story, as far as I know, is a standalone because like usually MM Pratt puts in like an explanation as to like where this fits in her little mythos.
Yes.
So and like usually leaves us links to like other stories or like before or after. Yeah, like you nailed it on the you nailed it right on the head of there with the like the dog barking at the door probably is actually just a red herring because like nothing weird's happening, and then like as soon as she's done like investigating that weirdness, that kind of sort of fake out plot point, the power goes out and the real plot kicks in.
Yes.
So yeah, you're like, but like yeah, the keys are like a red herring in the wrong direction. Like it's if it was meant to be a red herring, it failed because it was interesting and it's never explained.
Yeah, it's one of the more interesting things in this because like people do creepy monsters showing up to kill people. People don't do random keys being given to people that have like blood and stuff on them. Like that's interesting
That's
and
serial
weird.
killer shit.
Yeah.
That's straight up serious. Yeah, like those keys are like to like some kind of like locker or something like that, or in like some public locker system or something. Or if they've been like old like style keys. 'Cause again, they're just keys. They're not like some of the they're just like began to find keys in their mailbox sealed in unmarked envelopes. Some of the keys were smeared with lamb's blood, and some of them came with attached with travel tags from foreign with foreign languages. So I guess like they're those kind of like travel keys, like for like maybe like a suitcase or maybe again like a public locker thing. But initially I was like even like part of my head was like, what kind of key is it? Is it like one of those big like iron keys that like old school style, like from the Victorian period maybe? Or are they just like straight up like, modern keys?
We'll never know.
No.
Because yeah, like they could have been like old school keys, and like the creatures that show up are like clockwork robots or something, and like the way you defeat them is like you have to stick the key in them in their face and turn it or something to turn them off.
That'd be so cool.
Like it could be like a weapon against the creepy shit that's happening. But instead it's nothing.
Yeah, like again, like we don't get to see the thing's face. What if like after you like what if like Chelsea, like as she's being ripped apart, tears off one of the veils, and Haley gets a good look at the face. It's just this like Slender Man, like blank expression face, like blank face, but with a keyhole right in the middle of it. And if only she had one of those keys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I think that would have been like cool, like the key, the. I was gonna say like the key men of North Dakota. I'm just kind of envisioning those like those weird like kind of no face Slenderman kind of characters from American Gods that like the new gods use as like minions. Like they're kind of like they also like move kind of in like a clockwork way too. But yeah, it's such a weird plot hole.
Because it's
like almost
in regards to
gaping.
something interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it could be called like the key is mightier than the sword or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of Umbra, which we don't really have a connection to.
Again, I think TV Snow would have done really well for that.
Yeah. The closest I can get for the Umbra title is just the fact that she's in complete darkness during the creepiness.
Yeah.
And that has to be the case for whatever reason. Is it in the middle of the day when this happens? Windows, yo.
Give me a second. Yeah, give me a second here. 15 where are we? Kitchen, rather oriented farmhouse, Burton. It doesn't really. I mean, she's looking outside. Outside, the wind whipped in the surrounding. The bare branches rattled and shook, sending showers of fresh snow over the previously powdery. Clear on the ground. It doesn't really say what time of day it is, but like she's doing the dishes. But that could be like any time of day, really.
You could theoretically see that stuff outside through like streetlights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So who knows? Regardless, I'm gonna get on with my actual final thoughts.
That's fair. It's fair.
TLDR, I like the story, but the more that we talked about it, the execution left a lot like wanting because like it brings up a lot of cool shit that it doesn't talk about. which is sort of frustrating. So instead of being a relatively high partial, like bordering on fully recommendation, because I like the story, but it needs work. So I'm going to bump it to a what's the opposite of bumping actually? Because bumping is going up.
You're going
Dumping it. I'm going to dump it to
dump it
to
down.
a partial. Yeah, I'm going to dump it to a
drop
partial.
it down. Yeah, drop, yeah. No,
Because I feel it does need a little bit of work, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just to
that's
tie
fair.
up the things that it brings up itself.
Yeah. But all right. Then I guess that's our recommendations. Two kind of partial recommendations and one non-recommendation. Good start, but needs work on its final execution.
That being said, this was also done for a
competition.
A competition.
So there was obviously
has its own guidelines, I'm sure, that we're unaware of. So we don't know what the writing prompt is.
Yeah, and also there's like a deadline, so like maybe they didn't have enough time to like really flesh it out, or like again they had a word count probably.
Yeah.
Like we're not fully aware of the factors that were involved, but again, like it's a good start. It just if this was like a story that like they did for a competition, like and like they had like a certain limitation to it, after the competition, like take this and then like elaborate more on it.
Worth revisiting.
Yeah. But yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. Some of us are on Blue Sky. Mikey is at the East Ends for Evil, and I'm at Review Cultist.
You said that some of us with such disdain, like you were disappointed that I'm not on Blue Sky.
I am immeasurably disappointed that you're not on Blue Sky as well, sir.
Nice.
You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. We have special episodes, early access, and extra content. To all our patrons that help support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. As always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, writing and posting these stories on the internet, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East Ends for Evil.
I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.